Well, welcome to banddirector.com. We're here at Wayne State University, and I'd like to introduce you to the band today. They're all members and students here at Wayne State University's Jazz Studies program. Mike Karloff on piano, Sam Trachek on bass, Nathaniel Wynn on the drums. The next area I want to talk about is melody. And obviously what I'm doing here is covering the primary elements of music: rhythm, melody, and harmony. I'm saving harmony for the last because it's one of the most difficult concepts to absorb for a young student. Not only because there's so much vastness to the concept of harmony before you can even apply it, but also because it's one of those things that is typically introduced first in jazz improv books and by a jazz improv teacher, and it can make really young, unconfident students feel as though they'll never be able to improvise, and it's just too long of a road to walk. So what we're going to do here is get into the concept of melody. At the end of the last video, you heard that we did some sort of rhythmic reorganization to the melody of Just Friends. We're going to continue on that track, encouraging students to explore melody, not only in their small group settings, but even in the big band, finding opportunities for students to understand what the melody is that is the basis of the tune they're improvising on, memorizing that tune, and then working with it in their improvisation. Now again, depending on the level of students' creativity, the musical output will vary greatly. Let me give you some examples. One of the first things I encourage all students to do, even the youngest of students, is to freely explore the melody of a tune. I have a 7-year-old son. He plays a little bit of piano. Very often, I will teach him a short theme on the white keys of the piano, and then ask him to play it the way he wants to. And there doesn't even have to be a sense of time if he doesn't want to. This is the kind of concept. Let me show you what I mean. A tune you probably all know, a tune called Take the A Train, very popular jazz tune. To ask a student to freely explore the tune, even if they play wrong notes, what I want to hear basically is that they know the tune, they know the right notes, and they take some chances with creating a melodic texture where they continually return to the correct notes of the theme, so I know they have it in their head. This starts basically as a memorization exercise, where you introduce the student to the tune itself. They memorize the tune and are able to play it correctly with the correct notes, and then encourage them to do something more free, more expressive, even if they don't completely understand the underlying harmony or all the other elements of the tune. Here's an example of Take the A Train, just played freely. By myself, I practice this way all the time. not making a big deal out of it. I'm not trying to show off all the things I know and all the possibilities that are available to me. In fact, what I'm just trying to do is express the melody in reference to the way I feel right now. And it's something the youngest of students can do. Of course, you may have to shorten the melody that you expect them to memorize, but the idea, I think, is clear. Let me give you another example. I very often hear middle school bands and high school bands perform the music of Sammy Nestico and Neil Hefti, who wrote a lot for the Count Basie Orchestra. One of the reasons for that is arrangers like Nestico and Hefti spend a lot of time focusing on rhythm and melodies, and they don't necessarily have complex harmonic progressions or really difficult things to play. But if they're played well and with good time, the charts are very successful. One example that's become a standard in a lot of high school books is an arrangement called Basie Straight Ahead by Sammy Nestico. Now, the idea behind Basie Straight Ahead is fairly simple. It's an A-A-B-A tune. There is an actual 32-bar song that Sammy Nestico wrote and then explored it within the arrangement of Basie Straight Ahead. That's an important element to understand if you want to give your students some melodic concepts to improvise with on that particular arrangement. About a chorus or two into the arrangement, about a chorus and a half into the arrangement, there's a very popular tenor saxophone soloist. There's, in several published versions, there's even a written solo, so the improviser can simply read the solo on the part, which is fine, because it's the one I've seen is a well-written solo. But what is also important to know is that that solo takes place on the second A, the bridge, and the last A of the tune. So if you can teach the tune to your tenor player, you'll have a lot more information to improvise with. A great teacher of mine once said, the melody is never wrong. So if you know the melody, you always have a place to come back to, even if you start exploring and you find you've painted yourself into a corner. If you have the theme in your head, you can always come back to it. And in fact, the theme itself can make for a basis of a wonderful improvisation. Typically, when a tenor player first comes across that improvised section in their jazz band, they suddenly see where the arrangement has modulated a minor third up from where it started, if they even recognize that. They will see A-flat major 7 as the first chord in the key of E-flat, which might be confusing because the tune starts on the 4 chord. These are all things you may understand as a teacher, but would be very confusing to a student. The next chord change goes to an A-flat minor 6, then to a G minor, then to a G-flat diminished. These all happen one bar at a time. What it typically makes most young improvisers do is shut down and not read the chord changes and simply sort of start to play in the key of E-flat to see if they can find some good notes. Often not leading to a particularly successful solo, but we want to give the students some more things to work with. So one thing you can do is first, you as the director or the teacher, recognize the tune is indeed modulated, write out the melody for the student in the new key at that place in their solo, and get them to memorize it, and see if then they can use those notes to create an improvisation. In the midst of this roaring big band chart, they will have drawn a relationship between what they're improvising to what the composer wrote in the score, and they'll become part of the musical arrangement with their improvisation. It's a very intelligent approach to big band soloing. Let me give you an example. We're going to play an excerpt that's just read out of the score from Basie Straight Ahead, and I'll play the melody that Sammy Nestico wrote at the beginning of the chart as the basis of this tune. Then we'll go back and do it again, and I'll improvise using that melody. Here is the melody itself. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That and is able to play the melody and has spent some time exploring it, they don't even really have to know the chord changes at this point. Of course, it helps, and we'll get into that in the next section, but let's just say they have the melody to work with. They've done some rhythmic exploration of melody, so they can apply that concept. And occasionally, if they play a bad note, or they try to do something, then at least it has some intelligence because they have a place to return to that draws them back into the music. So it can actually be very successful to make some errors and to take the chances. And eventually, you should encourage a student to do that. Here's the tune again, with approaching it as a basis of improvisation. 1, 2, Suddenly, the student is exploring things and creating something that has a lot to do with the big band arrangement, has a lot to do with the music, and it doesn't require them to understand the intricacies of every single harmony that's going on. And there's the use of melody in improvisation.